When you look around the church you lead, does your congregation look like you? Do they look like people who are probably your peers? Today, we're going to talk about your range of influence, whether or not your congregation looks like you or not, and why that could be a bad thing. I have no idea what I'm doing with my hand.
When I was a little boy in pastor school, nobody was happy. I had high blood pressure. And I started crying. Daddy told me to meet him in front of the liquor store.
I know multiple youngish church planters, and I do mean multiple, who, when they launched their church, the people that went with them were like them. They were in the same stage of life, or they were in the same age range as the launching pastor. Now, I've spoken at some of those churches, and standing before their church preaching, or just saying silly stuff, I've noticed that people who have attended those churches kinda, sorta, in a way, look like their pastor.
You're a very handsome man. Thank you, Mr. President.
Now, that's true in a couple of ways. For example, if you are a pastor and your primary gift is teaching, chances are that down the road you will have a lot of people in your church who are teachers. Similarly, if you are a pastor and your background is worship leading, you will likely end up with a great deal of musicians in your midst. If you are a pastor and you work in the prophetic giftings, you will likely end up with people in your church who work in those same gifts. But more practically is the similarity in age and where the congregants are in their journey in life. As an example, if the senior pastor has small children, they will likely have families with small children in their churches. But also, if a pastor has been at a church for years and years and is near retirement age, the likelihood is that he or she will have a great many people in their church who are older. And I gotta tell you, someone I know who went to plant a church when he was 22 years old had a group of people who were like him in age. He didn't have very many older people, and he didn't get the chance to use their wisdom. And as happens when his college-age friends moved on, well, his church fell apart. Of course, I always like to say or try to imply that these are just my opinions and observations. As always, what I'm trying to communicate is that the thoughts here are not absolute and certainly don't apply to all situations. But if it helps one church or one pastor or one group of church leaders, then I'm content, and I can go home and I can sleep at night and dream of cheese. I was working on a peer-reviewed dissertation of a theory of mine. Okay, this is just a thought that I actually heard from a dude.
The dude abides.
But the idea is this. There is a sphere or a range or a span of a pastor's influence. And that span is usually 10 years older or 10 years younger. Meaning you connect with people who are 10 years older than you are or 10 years younger than you are. But beyond those boundaries, the people in those age groups and those spheres of life may not relate to you. They may not connect to you. They may understand you and even admire you, but they don't feel like you are part of their journey. And it's probably just generational or cultural differences. So the idea goes that if you are an older pastor, people in their 20s may listen to you and respect you, but they don't necessarily relate to you. There is a chance that they won't feel a personal connection to you, unless you are a silly, childlike former youth pastor. Similarly, a 25-year-old church planter probably won't have the same degree of influence over people in their 50s and 60s. Now, I think the concept makes sense. Of course, there are caveats and exceptions to the rule. It is an admitted generality. And the likelihood is that this generality applies to smaller churches more so than large churches. And that's probably due to a larger staff and a more diverse range of ages. But check it out for yourself. If you are a pastor or leader and you are in the age of around 55,
You smell like old people and soap.
Look around your church. Is there a balance in terms of numbers of, say, 20-somethings? We have really got to find a better name for people in that age group. Is there a balance between your age and young married couples, with children or without? Are there similar percentages of middle-aged people? Or does it lean heavily toward your age range? Look around your church and use your critical eye and evaluate the age makeup of your congregation. Does it look like you, or does it look more diverse in terms of ages of people? If your church does look primarily like you, well, does it really matter? Well, of course it matters. Listen, if you're a pastor who is 30, in that 30 range, the likelihood of you having a substantial group of older people is small. And you miss out on the experience of having older people, older believers, and older leaders in your church.
You smell like peanuts. I love peanuts.
But also, if you are 50 or older or in that age range, you may be missing out on cultivating the next generation. And they should be the next evolution of the leadership of your church. At Church Ops Consulting, we talk about the big four. One of the big four is strategic planning. Having a church that is made up of a well-balanced group of ages is a strategic plan for the future. It keeps the conveyor belt of leadership and growth moving, rather than stuck in one age range, which will eventually die off. So, if you see this in your tribe, what can you do about it? Well, if you are older, find a Timothy. And if you don't know who Timothy is, I'm not sure you should be a pastor. But if you don't, it just means find a younger person with strong faith and leadership potential.
That never had the Holy Ghost, and they never see the preaching that I'm going to do it.
Throw your proverbial cloak around them, find what they are good at, equip them, and then walk out with them as they become more vital and more visible to your church congregation. Simply put, find a young person and raise them up so the younger generation feels like the church represents them. Give her or him a title, and not a superfluous title, but give them an area of responsibility to be over. Give them plenty of opportunities to be visible and to serve. This can bring balance to the force and keep your church moving. Now, what about the opposite? If you are younger, and by younger, I mean under 40. Holy crap, I feel old. Do something similar. Find an older person who is wise and faithful and not set in their ways. Somebody who is caring and loving. Somebody who's cool.
Every day I'm shuffling.
I'm sensing a theme. Give them a role in leadership, a job, a responsibility that is visible to your congregants, I mean the people in your church, and one that is suited for that person. And give them a title, a good title. Now, just as a side note, that person's going to be older than you, and they can come across as the authority and you as the junior authority, which can easily happen when you are a younger pastor and have someone older in leadership. Make sure they are someone who can follow a leader and submit to authority, even that of someone who is younger than they are. But do this: make them, their responsibility, and their title visible to your church. Show the church how important they are. And older people will see you valuing people their own age, and it will bring balance to the age group and the age range of your church. Remember, 10 years younger, 10 years older. No matter how cool we think we are, practically that's probably the limit of our influence, our relational influence. Now, if you want to do something really crazy, and this is just the youth pastor guy in me, find someone in your youth group who is faithful, available, and teachable. I always called that fat. A young person who understands authority and can submit to authority. And do the same thing with them. Give them a role, give them responsibility, give them a title, let them be visible to the entire church. Coach them in whatever they are doing, but make them visible. Let them do announcements, because I'm going to tell you, announcements are just a real pain in the butt to do them well. Nothing, not even a brand new youth building, will say we believe in our youth like giving a teenager a significant, visible, responsible role in the church. See what happens. Hey, and by the way, you can give people roles, responsibilities, and titles and positions in the church. You can make them staff members without them being paid. More than just interns, make them volunteer staff members. Or as one church that I worked at called them, extended staff. Hey, interview them. Give them a job description. Hold them accountable just as you would paid staff. And treat them with respect. I could be wrong. It happens pretty much hourly. But in time, I believe if you do these things, you will see balance come to the age range of your church, especially in their level of commitment and their willingness to serve. And your church will look less and less like you and more like a large, diverse family. Check your church, take a look around, and then do something about it. Leave a comment. Tell us about the age of your church, your age, and the age range that seems to be missing. You can comment about what you have done to bring other age groups up in the level of participation and commitment. And if you like the video and the stuff we talked about today, hit the like button and also subscribe so you don't miss out on any videos. For instance, the next topic we're going to be talking about is what it means to be a staff member and have a real Sabbath, and if you're having one or not. We were taught to get up and preach and lead the congregation regardless of age, but nobody taught us about range of influence in pastor school.